Hello everybody, welcome in. It's Laura from Tenacious Taurus Twin Flame Tarot, and today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to talk about how to maybe understand the masculine twin a little bit better, tips on how to unlock their frozen heart. So let's talk about this journey. Let's talk about the masculine counterpart, and let's talk about remembering this spiritual truth. So it's not always that the masculine twin is going to be biologically male. There are women out there that are the divine masculine, but I do want to put an emphasis on the male collective, the masculine collective, biologically speaking. And so when somebody is born into a male body, they take on all of the collective karma of that gender, right? The collective karmic fields of that gender, no matter what their inner polarity is. And so I think one thing I really wanted to address on the journey is, why do so many men have their hearts shut down, right? You come into this a lot in the collective. Men are just not open in the heart or emotionally available. They're not keen to communication in relationships. And all of this really is due to this collective male karma that we're here to kind of clear, right? And so many men in the collective have this deep underlying aversion to owning their feelings, going into heart-centered relationships. And a lot of this is due to collective guilt, collective shame towards how the feminine collective has been treated throughout generation after generation. And so a lot of men in the collective, they don't go into relationships with that heart-centered truth. They go into it, you know, with what can this person give me? They go into, you know, a sexual connection, and it's not really heart-centered, right? So if you think about it, all of us have the potential to feel this collective energy. And I think the divine masculine, on their heart of hearts, they do kind of feel this collective pain, right? And then they carry all of this shame and all of this guilt when it comes to the masculine collective energy fields. And so right now, where we're standing at from a historical point of view, male power equals abuse, domination, and control. And so a lot of the pain when it comes to shutting off the heart is the fact that the divine masculine has hurt their counterpart, likely in a past life, right? And so all of this is kind of instilled in our DNA, in our cellular soul memory bank, when it comes to all of these abusive powers from past lives. And these masculines will feel this pain from birth, right? And that's part of their spiritual mission. And so one of the many reasons that these men shut their hearts off, right, is this deep underlying collective karma and this pain. And so a lot of men choose to create bonds through sexual intimacy rather than emotional intimacy, because they're afraid to go into their hearts, right? They're afraid to feel this love and the pain of this love. And so many of the masculine twins run, right, because of the intensity of this connection, and they're running from themselves because of all of this karmic baggage. So all of these power of abuses, all of the hurt in the collective consciousness, and all of this triggers all of these deep inner wounds and the fear of being open to these connections. And so a lot of these masculines hold on to this hurt, this archetypal hurt, this archetypal image of the one who hurts, right? And then this can create a cycle of running, but he's not actually running from you. He's running from himself. He's running from these wounds that he's not willing to face. He's running from the shame and the guilt and the pain that he will have to transmute if he's to get to the root cause of the running, right? And so they don't really run from us. They're running from that mirror reflection, right? Because the feminine reflects their truest self, but it also reflects all of these shadow wounds to come to the surface, right? And we know how hard it is to do this deep healing integration work. Many of the feminines go through this healing journey first. And so ultimately, the masculines run from their own reflection, pretty much, right? And so this can be very triggering on the journey, especially when it comes to creating intimacy with another. And so all of these underlying hurts is this shared energy that the counterparts have, that we feel. We can feel our counterpart hurting. They can feel us hurting. They can feel this in their chakra body system, right? In their energy system. And so they're pulling away and they're running because I think part of them subconsciously think it's going to protect us from who they are, right? Protect us from their shadows. And that's not the case. And so all of this is stemming from these unconscious fears of the divine feminine, all of these unconscious feelings of hurt and guilt and shame, and all of this historical negativity when it comes to power abuse against the divine feminine. And so a lot of this goes all the way back to ancient Egypt, ancient energies, where often there was guilt and shame and fear of coming together, fear of moving into the heart, of actually feeling the experience of unconditional love. Because when you feel the unity, you also have to then purge the separation, right? The separation from source. And so spirit is constantly showing us too, time and time again, how human history keeps embodying this toxicity, right? And so we as twin flames, we're volunteers, we're volunteer light workers when it comes to clearing this historic shame, guilt, trauma, and hurt. And all of these heavy feelings do have to be transmuted back into unconditional love in order to restore the bond, the healthy bond that the twin flames do share. And so a lot of the masculines don't even realize that this is an unconscious reaction to these karmic energies that we kind of tap into once the activation journey begins. And so a lot of the divine masculine twins, they harbor this feeling of not being good enough, not feeling worthy of the divine feminine because of this tainted perception. And so a lot of the divine masculines look at the feminine as this pure, angelic presence. And they feel like if they come towards us, they're damaging us or they're doing us an injustice if they are intimate with us or if they interact with us, because they look at us as this angelic, purified presence. And then they then look at themselves as this bad boy energy, not worthy of the divine feminine. And so I feel that's kind of what a lot of the male twins will tell their counterparts is, I don't deserve you. I'm not worthy of this love. And they might not even be able to explain why they feel this way, but it is this deep underlying unconscious misaligned energy when it comes to their identity as a karmic masculine. And so this can cause a lot of negative, hurtful behavior on the masculine's part, because it's really not who they are. They're reacting out of all of this negative unconscious programming in their systems. They've inherited it through their family background or absorbed it from society standards. And so they're really just expressing this negative programming of all of these shadow traits of the masculine collective. And so a lot of the times, the twin doesn't consciously hurt us. It's actually a lot of karma kind of playing out. And so the divine feminine's job is to help the masculine twin shift out of that, right? And so it really is a lot of the divine feminine's job to clear the chakras, to clear the negative programming, to clear the negative karmic attachments in the old 3D energy fields. And so as the feminine does the clearing, then the masculine kind of has to move into this higher state with you. And so when the feminine comes into complete alignment with her free will, that's when things can really shift for the better. And so that's really our superpower, divine feminine, is the unconditional love that we do hold for our counterpart on the heart. And so our unconditional love is our unparalleled power when it comes to this journey. We can choose to send our twin flame love, and we are helping them more deeply than we realize, and definitely more deeply than they might even know. And so I just want to say, any separation energy is not one counterpart's fault or another. We are one soul in two bodies, but we are whole all on our own. And so many of us feel like all of this negativity kind of has to be stirred and brought to the surface in this connection, and that's what kind of creates this distance, right? And so if the twin is pulling away, they're not ready to forgive themselves, right? If there's still that energy surge, the soul shock, it just means that the twin has not forgiven themselves yet. And so they might feel bad about the past, or maybe they're still picking up on the collective negativity and they haven't mastered energetic sovereignty, but they're the ones holding themselves hostage in that Eight of Swords prison. And it's all due to the fact that they feel like they don't deserve this love from you. And so when you forgive them, it opens up the doorway for them to forgive themselves. And so mirror, mirror, right? Mirror, mirror on the wall. And so when we restore the unconditional love on our heart and we can completely forgive the masculine, then that tension kind of gets removed between the energy cords, and the pulling apart isn't as strong. And so any repeated, it's like magnets, right? And when we repel each other, it's an indication that there's a repeated conflict and problems that still need resolution in order to feel safe again, to kind of have that face-to-face. And so basically what we came here to do, look at that 11:11 on the timer. We came here to redefine the masculine collective, right? We came here to redefine all of these society definitions of what a man is supposed to be, what a man is supposed to act like, or, you know, do. We're getting rid of all of these gender roles. And so a lot of these masculines are attached to this learned behavior of masculinity. And so it can be very frightening to open up to these changes, right? Especially to open up to a true loving partner. And so this is part of our mission. This is what we came here for. We're breaking down these old 3D paradigms, these old definitions and perceptions of men and women, relationships and love. And we're here to teach people how to open up to a new way of identifying, right? A new way for the masculine to identify with himself, and to release all of the facades, right? All of the gender roles, all of the facades, and all of the hurt. And so a lot of these masculines will go into a karmic contract and they'll play pretend house, and they'll deny these true feelings quite often for years. And so that's just showing us, again, this negative perception, right? And so if you look at masculine energy, what does the male archetype kind of represent? And so if you look at our current society standards, our concepts are like way outdated, and men are so devoid of their feelings and their emotions. The last couple of years on the journey has been this huge cosmic push for the masculines to go into this oversensitized energy and openness of the heart to reestablish the masculine energy. And so whether you're a man or a woman, a masculine or a feminine, we're all feeling this, right? We all have an inner masculine, we all have an inner feminine, and we're all kind of being asked to release these old damaging perceptions about what love is supposed to look like, right? And to open up to these new energies and these new activations. And we're here to instill these new ancestral patterns to create the new era, the new age of Aquarius. And so it's not just the masculine, it's the feminine too. And so we need to kind of adjust when it comes to our expectations of love, our misconceived conceptions of that fairy tale love story, and what a man is supposed to do for us, or act like, or think like, or feel like. And so the journey is about disassembling all of these ego masks that we wear, and getting away from all of these stereotypes, right? And releasing all of these blocks to unity consciousness. And so the more masks we remove, the more open we are to unity, right? And so we can't really see our twin for who they truly are if we can't truly open up to them at that deep level, right? And so on a personal plane, on the 3D plane, there's going to be flare-ups, there's going to be some challenging dynamics, and you know, the last couple of years we've all been pushed to release these old identities, to release all of these old traumas and patterns and hurtful experiences when it comes to these masculine male energies, right? I know a lot of the feminines go through a lot of abusive relationships at the hands of a man, and all of this is asking us to move forward, right? To break these chains. And so a lot of the masculines project the worst of their shadow traits towards the feminine. It's not by accident. It is because, you know, they agreed to hurt you this lifetime, right? And a lot of them are so oversensitive to these energies, they react in a very negative way as part of this purging process. And so as we keep stepping higher and we shield ourselves from the negativity, it allows us to interact with the masculine in the higher energies, with his higher self, to help activate his unity consciousness as well, right? So when we clear our system, he kind of has to clear his system out too. And so energy clearings are one of the easiest ways to connect with your twin remotely. And it is an easy way, a painless way to heal these wounds. And a lot of us have to do the healing in the 5D before we can have that face-to-face because of the deep pain of the journey, both of us working towards union. And it is about, you know, releasing all of these problems, all of these surface level relationships. And so we can always help the masculine by clearing our own energy blocks too. And so a lot of these masculines find it so hard to open up because their innermost fear is rejection. Rejection. So it's like, I'm going to push you away. I'm going to run before you get a chance to break up with me, before you get a chance to hurt me. And so what they're doing is they're playing into escapism tendencies. And they're projecting all of their fears onto you when it comes to their inner conflict or whatever hurt they've been holding on to from their parental figures or from childhood, right? And so as the feminine in this connection, we need to kind of ask ourselves, who was the first female to reject him? Likely that's where the real issue does lie. So who was the first female to reject him? Usually it goes back to that mother wound, right? And so it's like this mirage kind of happening in order for us to break down all of the illusions to get to the original trauma. Because we can't do this release if we don't get to the original trauma. And so when we kind of look at it from their perspective as, you know, who could have rejected him that would, you know, make him fear unconditional love, it's usually the mother. And so where does this male dominance come from, right? Where does the controlling energy come from? Why do we have so much violence and conflict in the world? And so really, if you get to it, it stems around a core fear, likely around survival, destroying energy, abandonment energy. And so the masculine archetype is seeking to create conflict all out of fear. And this is the lifetime the masculines elevate to these higher frequencies, these higher vibrations with the divine feminine. And so we have to face all of these innermost fears if we are to resolve them. And so the masculine will always push love away if he's afraid of letting it in. And so if the masculine is afraid of letting it in, then where are you afraid of letting him in, right? And so it's really been this huge thing in society where, you know, it's not acceptable for men to admit their fears or to bring forward other emotions. And that's what we're here to change, right? So I feel right now with all of the retrograde energies, the masculine is doing a lot of this energy work when it comes to this deep inner child healing. And I feel we're on kind of like that last roundabout when it comes to this path. And so with all of this retrograde energy, we can be our counterpart's biggest assistants if we choose to release fear at that deep level, right? We don't want to fear losing them. We cannot lose something that is a part of us, right? And so I think a lot of the masculines are afraid of losing face, afraid of rejection, right? And so when we clear and remove our fear energy, our fear-based energy, divine feminine, it allows the masculine to go around all of these old hurts and phobias and fears and access the hurt to release it once and for all. And so we're really not needing to connect in the mind space. I feel right now we're just being asked to go into the heart to remove all of this past hurt where we've harbored resentment or bitterness, and where we can reach a level of forgiveness. So I kind of feel like right now we're doing a lot of work when it comes to finding our natural flow. Excuse me. Because the further along we get, it's like that sinking ship, right? All of these heavy burdens, all of these heavy anchors, they're not there anymore. And so it's learning to get back into the flow, because we can't trick ourselves or pretend ourselves into alignment, right? And so you know when somebody's embraced their inner light at the twin soul level. And so right now, this is the lifetime the masculine breaks down that ego self and ultimately has to face all of these fears. I think another big fear is fear of death. For a lot of the masculines, I know a lot of the masculines were older on the journey, right? When you get into your 40s, you go through a heart awakening, and a lot of these counterparts will have a heart attack at the shock and the intensity of this heart chakra activation. And so death is one of the masculine's innermost fears, I feel. But we truly have nothing to fear, right? We're immortal at the soul level already. And so the soul is never, ever going to die. And there's really nothing that dangerous here on earth. It's all about fears and these misconceptions, right? And so I feel the masculine is always on the defense. He's defending himself from his own shadow self, from his own illusions, his own fear-based feminine, and he's afraid of the counterpart. I think he's also afraid of compromising his ability to defend himself, I think, and that's why they play into all of these escapism tendencies, because it feels like danger being around the feminine, because it is so intense and it is so real. And so really the masculine needs to kind of face this truth within himself. There is no danger of the feminine. This is where he needs to own his own authority if he wants to align with his eternal soul like the feminine has. And so right now I feel we're on the precipice of the masculine owning this truth, freeing himself, getting ready to embrace his true power, and releasing the physical power of dominance, which was based in fear. But when we step into our eternal power, our spiritual power, that is always going to be based in love, right? Which is the one true truth. Love is the only thing true, right? And so I feel we cannot step into unconditional love when the ego is saying, no, you're supposed to be afraid of this, right? And so we can't make the masculine do the work. He has to tap into his own divinity. He has to be willing to be emotionally vulnerable and stand completely open as his truest self in front of the counterpart, in front of the divine feminine. And that is not for us to decide. And so he will not do this out of force. You cannot blackmail him. You cannot force him. You cannot beg him to do this work. He will only be able to do this when he releases the fears, right? And I feel all of these energies are intensifying this transformation when it comes to the masculine facing all of these life limitations, in order for him to truly open up to love. And so we can help them by keeping our state of alignment with our divinity, with our soul and our truth, and by interacting with them at the higher levels. So I really hope that helped. I hope that, you know, that really helped and that resonated. I look forward to doing more videos like these for all of you. If you would like to book a reading with me, check out the description box below, guys. And I look forward to seeing you all again next time. Thank you.